soon-to-be best-selling author and senior NFL writer for The Athletic. That's
Athletic.
Athletic, 4 syllables. The one, the only, Matthew Barrows. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, guys. What's going on?
Good morning.
Oh, it's, what is it? You're playing with fire. Eventually, you're going to get burnt. I don't know if it was this weekend, but this sure seemed inevitable. They were doing it with smoke and mirrors and string and silly putty, and they, even though I, up until that turnover in the fourth, was thinking, you know what? This team just keeps finding a way. They're going to do it. They did not do it. Home loss to Jacksonville, 3-1.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect. And, for basically, since July, very few guys have been practicing, consistently. Every week, it seems that there are 10 to 12 guys on this roster that either aren't practicing because of injury or are limited because of injury. And I think you saw that in this game. I mean, I don't think Brock Purdy was, you would expect this, that he wasn't, himself. He wasn't fluid, and, there were overthrows and things like that. Wasn't on the same page as Kendrick Bourne, a guy he'd never played with in a game. Kendrick Bourne has played 40 games with Mac Jones, and until Sunday, 0 games with Brock Purdy. And you saw that. There were 3 drops, or, that first one was, right on Bourne, very hard to handle. So I don't know if that technically counts as a drop, but that was the type of game it was. Very disjointed. They would look good 1 second, look bad the next. They never really found any consistency.
Yeah, and if we go to, coaches will tell you, hey, we need to win the turnover battle. For it to be that lopsided and still be in the game, to not create any and to give 4 away, I know that's something Jacksonville's been doing this year, but is that kind of go back to the lack of cohesion you're talking about, Matt, and the lack of practice time together with some of these guys?
Yeah, I think so. A couple of those were, batted balls that the throw wasn't, that first throw wasn't exactly on Christian McCaffrey. Could he have caught it? Yeah, but it was more difficult than it needed to be. And then you have the 4 turnovers plus, a long kick return at the end of the first half, and then a punt return for a touchdown where nobody got a hand on the punt returner. And it's almost a wonder that they only lost by 5 points. I'm trying to kind of reconcile that in my head. The Jaguars had a lot of penalties. They had a lot of injuries. Frankly, the 49ers had opportunities for takeaways. They just couldn't do that. And that seems to happen every now and then. I remember it happening in the Jim Harbaugh era. They would get their hands on the ball, and it just wouldn't ever end up in a takeaway. And Harbaugh's analogy was like it was the first olive out of the jar. Once you pluck that first olive, they all come out. But it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get the first olive out of the olive jar.
Well, Trevor Lawrence had been sacked on an average of exactly once per game coming into this matchup, and which matches up about, I think he was sacked 18 times last year. So that's about the norm over the last year plus. But it does stand out to me that he did Lawrence through 31 times and was not sacked. Is not having Nick Bosa, in your opinion, a sustainable thing for a team that wants to contend, or is John Lynch going to have to pull some magic out at some point?
Yeah, I don't think it's sustainable. No, Sam Okuanu started in his place, and he's been a really good backup defensive end. He's Mr. Hustle. He's good. He's really good against the run. I don't know if he had a sack after week 5 last year, and he played a lot of snaps. He's not a sack guy, and he was playing opposite Nick Bosa last year. So if you're thinking that he's gonna come away with 5, 8 sacks this year, you really weren't paying much attention last year. So I'm not exactly sure where it's going to come from. They've got exactly one sort of quote unquote sack master, really really good edge rusher on the team right now, and that's Bryce Huff. But I mean, he's not an every down guy. And, in the NFL now, if you've got one good pass rusher, the opponent can take that guy away. So you need multiple. I think the question for the 49ers is going to be when the trade deadline comes up and teams are talking about moving one of their edge rushers for draft picks, what's the 49ers record going to be? And what does it need to be for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to sort of veer away from their offseason plan, which was, okay, let's just tighten our belt this offseason and let's get rid of a lot of 30-somethings and a lot of big salaries and bring in a veteran and lose draft picks. It would be very counter to what their philosophy was this offseason. So my point is that I would think that they would need to be encouraged. Either they have a winning record or they're close to having a winning record, and Brandon Aiyuk is coming back, and George Kittle, and Kevin Gibbons, and lots of other guys are getting healthy. But if it's this, we got to wait on Ricky Pearsall, for example, and his knee today, see what that is. But it seems like whenever somebody comes back, Demarcus Robinson, for example, they lose somebody. So they're not gaining any ground. It's just a slow spiral, basically since July.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, since we're on the subject, Trevor Lawrence, I just checked coming into the game, had been hit 16 times. He'd taken 16 quarterback hits in 3 games. Yesterday, not only did the Niners not sack him, 0 quarterback hits.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and the irony of all that too, Matt, as we were talking about the lack of Bosa, what that means. I mean, the way the game ended, I know he's been a year plus now, no longer a Niner, but Armstead, the former Niners, the one that helps kind of isolate the game and put the dagger in when he strips the ball, and that's another guy that used to get after the quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's everything. They get 1 or 2 good plays from Kalia Davis a game. He had a nice kind of batted pass at a crucial moment yesterday. They just need more. I mean, they need more guys to step up. I think that they had a terrific plan in mind when Bosa was there. You've got Bosa on one side, you've got Michael Williams on base downs on the other, and then you bring in Bryce Huff, and then you have these other guys, Williams and Yetur Gross-Matos, who are good pass rushers from the inside. You lose one of those key components, and it's the biggest one in Bosa, and everything else falls out of place as well. There's a domino effect there. And that's the best argument for trading for a Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati, is that you bring Trey Hendrickson in and you can go back to your original plan. It's almost a 1-for-1 there. And you can go back to playing Michael Williams on rundowns and, whatever your ideal was for Bryce Huff's snap count, 20, 25 snaps a game. You can go back to what you thought was going to work for you this season. Because, as Dave pointed out, Sunday, it wasn't working. And that should be what you kind of see the rest of the season being. We're not going to be able to consistently get after the quarterback, because guess what? That happened all last year too.
And at some point, you would think a hand would be forced. I don't see, after the disappointment of last year, I just don't see Jed York and the crew saying we're paying. Not only are we paying a ton of money for this team, we just this is the first year without the bonus of Brock Purdy getting paid $900,000 a year. We're paying a ton of money for this team. And by the way, they're not the youngest team in the NFL. There is a window that is not closed, but certainly, guys like me probably couldn't fit through that window, if you know what I mean. It's getting closer. I just don't see, Matt, how they can just go, we lost Bosa, is what it is. We'll try to make do. I agree with you. I know you're not saying a move is imminent. I'd be really surprised if one wasn't, though.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these things don't ever happen until right up until the deadline.
Yeah.
And we can be captive to the moment. I mean, you could come away from the Jacksonville game and think, okay, this probably isn't a very good team. The Jaguars probably exposed the 49ers for what they are. They shouldn't go all in for a Trey Hendrickson this year. They just got too many holes all over their roster. But if they were to beat the Rams on Thursday, everyone would have a different outlook. Hey, you know what? These guys are pretty good. Yeah. These guys can win the West. They need to go out and be aggressive. Your chances to reach the playoffs and to reach the Super Bowl are so slim that you've got to seize the moment when you can. So, like I said, I think the question is, when do the 49ers do it? My podcast co-host Tim Kawakami thinks they should do it now because it would help your chances of winning, and these W's are what get you to the playoffs. But for some reason, it never seems to happen that way. It always seems to happen right at the deadline, which this year is November 4. So if it happened right before the deadline, the 49ers would have, had to have played, I think it's 9 games.
Rams,
so
Bucks,
I'm thinking like 5-4 record.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to at Rams, at Bucks, home Falcons, at Texans, at Giants. You're absolutely right. That's what, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9. And that's the next, whatever it is, 5. And my goodness, though, Maddie, at Rams, at Bucks, home Falcons, at Texans. I'm not trying to be that guy, but, they could be sitting under 500 or something like that by then if they wait too long.
4 out of those 5 games are on the road. 2 of them are on their East Coast. One of them is in their House of Horrors, MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
You don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's basically my point, is that I think that's the tack that the 49ers are taking as well. Let's see where we are.
Yeah.
And then we'll make a big move.
Well, it does feel like, look, it's still very early in the season, but this game this quickly to turn around Thursday night to be playing the Rams in L.A., a team they've played very well against the last, handful of years. But that's the swing to me, Matt. I mean, if you want to look at it optimistically, if the Niners do go down there and win, play well, they would have covered half the division already and beaten Arizona, beaten Seattle, beaten the Rams. That's terrific position. The other way, though, you lose, that's 2 in a row. You start to question what you have. The Rams got a little lead on you. So it feels like this Thursday is kind of a really big game this early.
Yeah, and then you go out to Tampa and play a pretty good Tampa team at their place. So, yeah, for sure. And it's going to be a challenge because I think, as we were saying at the beginning, that the issue was not a lot of cohesion, and understandably so, given all the injuries between Brock Purdy and his pass catchers. This week is not the week to build cohesion. They have one practice. It's a Tuesday night practice. It's basically a walkthrough. It's not the opportunity to, okay, Kendrick Bourne, this is what I'm thinking on this play, and for 2 guys to get a real feel for each other. That's what training camp is for. And Juwan Jennings wasn't there in training camp. Kendrick Bourne wasn't there in training camp. Sky Moore wasn't there in training camp. And I think on Sunday, you sort of saw the results of this kind of hodgepodge, recently thrown together passing attack.
So you mentioned Pearsall earlier, but by the way, how is Juwan Jennings? He took a double sandwich in the end zone, and he looked like he was in a lot of discomfort, but also wind knocked out of him. What are we looking at injury wise after the game?
Well, I mean, he came in with 2 injuries, a shoulder injury and an ankle injury, and I think the ankle injury has been problematic. He's practiced once, and it was a half-speed practice in the last 2 weeks. So, he's another big question mark, I think, for Thursday on a turf field. How much did the ankle get kind of set back? I don't think that the ribs were an issue. Okay. We usually find out more injuries from Shanahan on Monday than people were reporting after the game. So I don't want to say that it's a non-issue, but he seemed to be okay after the game. He did talk to reporters. Pearsall also spoke to reporters, and he said that he felt some instability in the knee, and he felt some pain in the knee. Remember, he was kind of running up and down the sideline, and then he actually went in for one snap in the fourth quarter and then quickly removed himself. So, given that, I would say that he's probably a long shot for Thursday as well. So, I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling was a healthy scratch for this one. Marquez MVS might be needed in Los Angeles.
Matt, during the week last week, there was some talk, I think, from Robert Saleh about how Jacksonville was really good at sign stealing. After the game, there was a on-field little incident between Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh. I know you've got your job to do, but how much of that was discussed post-game, or was any of that discussed at all between their little interaction?
I mean, questions were asked. We didn't get a lot of answers. I mean, it sounded from what the men were shouting at each other that it was very much related to what Saleh said on Thursday. And Kyle Shanahan's point is that, or the way he was trying to spin it, was that Saleh was paying Liam Cohen a compliment, saying, this is something that they do really well. But when you add sign stealing to it, it sort of has a negative connotation. My thought, this is just a theory, I don't know this, but Cohen and Saleh were the finalists for that job in Jacksonville. And I think it's something that Saleh wanted very much. And if you remember, Cohen didn't accept it right away. He sort of, played hardball. He didn't want to work with Trent Baalke. He waited for the Jaguars to fire him. So everybody was sort of in abeyance, waiting for Cohen to make his decision. Did that rub Robert Saleh, the wrong way? I mean, it might have. I mean, that might have been what was behind Saleh's comments on Thursday. So I don't know. It was interesting. You're seeing Robert Saleh be certainly more bold in his press conferences than he was the first go around. He just feels like he's got more license, and he does. And frankly, I thought that the defense, even without Bosa and even without the sacks and without the pressures and the quarterback hits, that's a big component of it. But, they still held the Jaguars to 19 points. That's pretty good, considering that your offense gave the ball away 4 times.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joins us, brought to you by Stockland Honda. Matt, you talked about the license Saleh has and that he's taken. You've covered the league for a long time, and I know each individual is their own, but is that generally something that comes the difference between the never been a head coach to have been a head coach? Do they tend to get a little bit more nervy and forceful afterwards in your experience?
I think so. A good exception to that rule, though, is Mike McDaniel, who spoke to us once a week because he was the offensive coordinator for one season. The offensive coordinator in title, Shanahan was still calling the plays, but he would come in and he would let his personality shine. It's very quirky, very funny. And we called it the Mike McDaniel comedy hour because there would be kind of jokey the whole time. But I think it's something that grabbed people's attention, and he became the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And I got to think that his press conferences were one of the things that at least brought him attention. So they are a means for up-and-comers to, put themselves on display. You see Clay, is it Clint Kubiak? No, Clay Kubiak. Sorry, I get my Kubiaks mixed up. They look exactly alike, too.
They do.
But it's Clay with the 49ers now, and he gets a once-a-week press conference as well. Like I said, it's good experience talking to the media, being up there on the podium with cameras on you, and you can sort of make a name for yourself. I haven't sensed Kubiak doing that, but like I said, it's something that some young guys can take an opportunity and run with.
Well, so now, again, the importance of where they are. I think overall 3-1 they'd probably be okay with, but what's the latest on some of these key players like Aiyuk and like Kittle, when we might see them back on the field.
Kittle's got to miss one more game, but I think it's, that Tampa game is a possibility for him. Aiyuk the other day, John Lynch said that they're not close. I think that was a little stronger than maybe he wanted to say, or maybe he was trying to kind of keep the pressure off of Aiyuk and off of Shanahan answering that question. They can open up his practice window at any point now. And I still think that it's going to come mid-season at some point. He seems to be moving around pretty well. Other ACL guys, I would say Malik Mustafa, the safety, is probably the closest among that group. Who else are we looking at here? That's it. I mean, Ben Barch, he's got 2 more weeks on IR. And some of these other wide receivers, Jordan Watkins, I think is going to be out for several more weeks.
Something that's been bothering me over the weekend, I'm trying to reconcile this, and I want your opinion. You mentioned the game in New Jersey against the Giants coming up in a few, and that's not a fun memory. Nick Bosa tore his ACL that year, 2020. Since then, Matt Part, Jonathan Harris, and T.J. Brunson, Rodarius Williams, Shane Lemieux, Jabril Peppers, Blake Martinez, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sterling Shepard, Marcus McKeithen, Darian Beavers, Kyle Fuller, Aaron Rodgers, and now Malik Neighbors have torn either ACLs or Achilles at MetLife Stadium. This is since 2020, so let's call that 4+ years. Now, here's where I want your opinion, Matt, because it's kind of breaking my brain. I know we love narratives, but also 2 teams play at MetLife Stadium. So they have double the games, and that works out to about 7.5 ligament tears, major ligament tears per team over the last 5 years. Is that egregious? I know you don't have those numbers handy. And also, is there, like, amongst players, coaches, and all that, is the whole MetLife tear curse a real thing?
Well, it certainly is with the 49ers. I mean, they loathe MetLife Stadium because of what happened in 2020. And they caught MetLife Stadium on the cusp of a new field turf installation. So it was very kind of buoyant, bouncy for them. They just were uncomfortable on it. But, having said that, the 49ers' recent ACLs from Brandon Aiyuk to Curtis Robinson to Malik Mustafa to Talanoa Hufanga a couple of years ago to Nick Bosa this year, they've all occurred at Levi Stadium. And the players think that Levi Stadium, if it's not the best, is one of the best surfaces in the country. So I don't know. The way that Neighbors' foot kind of caught in the turf yesterday suggests that it was turf related. I don't see that the foot behaving like that on a grass field. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not on that. So yeah, I mean, I do think that you are more apt to get it on those types of surfaces, but certainly grass is not an elixir, a cure-all for these injuries.
Well, we can end with this. A lot of tears in that building, but if anyone's getting hurt, it's the home team. No pun intended. Out of the 15 tears I just mentioned, only Kyle Fuller and Nick Bosa were road players that did that.
Wait, didn't Solomon Thomas also?
Probably.
He was a 2020 ACL tear.
Not on the list, but I sure as hell believe you. So then let's make it 3 of 16.
Wow.
Is that AI? Are you using AI?
Probably.
I'm doing what everybody should do on radio, Matt. I'm looking at a random Twitter graphic and taking it as gospel. But whether it's 15 or 16, that's a lot of Giants and Jets. I say outlaw injuries and bring that up to Roger Goodell in the meetings.
Yeah.
It's that simple, Matt. Appreciate your time, as always. Hopefully Better news next Monday, but the coverage stays the same. Fantastic. Matt Barrows of The Athletic, brought to you by Stockton Honda. Matt, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys in a week.
All right.
Thank you.
You take care.
Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We'll take a break. When we come back, final half hour of the program. What's on deck, brought to you by Trex.